Hello, everyone, and welcome to Book Marketing Pro Academy. This is our one-on-one coaching, and today I have with me author Rob Robinson. Rob, thanks for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to talk about your new book that you are in process of writing. Where are you in the process right now of your book?
Well, it's all finished, the book, editing, everything. We've got through the illustration part of it now. Now we're working on the front cover and the reverse cover, the back cover of the book.
Nice.
And we're at that process right now.
Awesome. So Rob's children's book is going to be coming out. It's kind of a chapter book. Is that right? Or is it a picture book?
It's a chapter book. It started out a picture book now, but with wisdom coming from you and others, that we turned it into a chapter book.
Yeah. So we have some people watching with us. We have Anne, and she loves your background, Rob. So we had fun designing that.
Yes,
and then Shelley Brown is with us, and hey, Shelley, and Kathy Ellinger is here with us as well. So, Rob, before we talk about kind of the steps of marketing within your community and how we launch our book there, why don't you tell me just a little bit about why you felt call or the urgency to write Bessie, and give me just an overview of that storyline so that our listeners can understand where we're going with our marketing.
Well, the book that I wrote is a true story. My mother, who is 96 years old, she told me this story a couple years ago. She shared it with me. And then recently, just maybe last year, she told me the story again. And it's just a wonderful story of God's protection and just how God just saved our family, used a cat to save our family. What a real short, my little sermonette for the book is that one day a cat followed my grandfather home and just moved in. He opened the door and cat was there, just moved right in and started walking around and moved in. So they accepted as a family pet. That was in the spring. Perhaps 6 months later, on a cold winter night, the cat went around the room meowing and jumping on the beds. And this was unusual behavior because the cat never did that before.
Wow.
Woke up everybody in the house, woke up my grandmother first. And then when she woke up, the house was filled with smoke. The house next door, the neighbor's house, was on fire, and smoke had filled our house, and everybody was falling into that deep sleep from that carbon monoxide poisoning and all. So the cat went around the room, woke up everybody, and everybody was able to get out the house. And when they came out of the house, the firemen and all the neighbors were surprised because nobody knocked on the door to wake them up. Nobody checked to see if my family was there or went to the house. They were just surprised to see that there was one family still. All the neighbors were out on the street, and they were surprised when the door opened and my family came running out, and it was because of that cat. And then after the fire was over, then 3 weeks later, the cat just disappeared and walked away, never came back.
Wow. That's just really incredible. I love that story.
Yes.
And what a legacy
Yes.
for your family. I know that's something that's really important to you, is to get this book done and so that your mom can see it before Jesus takes her home, and just continue leading this story out as a legacy for other families.
I just want to add real quick that, we counted, and because of that night, the cat, the Lord, we believe that the Lord used that cat to save the family. And because of that, we have 47 to 50 generations of my family still alive today because of that event that happened 90 years ago. 90 years. My mom was 6 years old 90 years ago. So,
wow.
Yes.
And so the legacy that has left for, even for the gospel, right? As people continue to serve, live after what God's called us to do. And and it was because of a cat. And I love you picked a verse. Actually, when I went back through your kind of questionnaire stuff, you picked a verse that really does speak to, how God used this cat to protect you. And it's Psalm 34:7. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them. Do you want to speak to that verse at all?
Well, that's one of the verses that the Lord really. Psalm 34 is one of my favorite psalms. Anyway, if we can have favorite psalms, which we do, it's one of my favorites. And but that verse just speaks of what happened that night. Was the cat an angel? I don't know. But we know that that cat was used that night, and the angel of the Lord protected us, protected my family, I should say, that night from carbon monoxide poisoning, and his just protection was there when nobody else was around, nobody else helped, but he was there, and so his angels camped around them that love and trust him, and they delivered them, which he did that night.
I love that, and the spiritual application of that for families and kids to embrace. But the book also has some very practical things that a reader could embrace, or a parent or a teacher could use within their conversations with their kids. So what are some practical ways that this book would perhaps guide some conversations between an adult and a child?
And what you said, this has a spiritual aspect to it, the story itself. But then at the end, the Lord just led me to apply some practical knowledge as far as how to use for children, how to use 911, what to say. Don't dial 0, dial 911. And when the operator answers, this is what you say. It is at the end of the book, it talks about smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, when to change the battery. It talks about different things, the effect of carbon monoxide poisoning, what you can see in people, and what to do. So we went to practical applications too, as far as people reading the book, not just spiritual story, which is important, but also this is what you do in the event of a fire.
Yeah. And we really, as we've talked through it, have kind of like a 3-prong approach to the launch of this: is the spiritual application and God's protection, the practical application and fire safety, for lack of a better term, and then the just the overarching kind of view of who you are in everything that you do, and the legacy of the stories that you tell, which then kind of is a full circle, because then it goes back to as the legacy of God's protection. So kind of a 3-prong. So today, what I'd like to do in the time that we have is really talk about the way that, as your book is getting ready to launch, how we can partner with community. Because at Redemption Press, we recognize there's so many different marketing options that we have, and oftentimes when people launch books, they think social media automatically is the way to launch their book, but we actually have a different view of that. We think that social media can bring awareness, but it also, we like to go back and take a step into the grassroots of where you are and really start building a community right where you are around your book, that then eventually will blossom into other avenues as people hear about it and as that reach continues to grow. So there's 3 things we're going to look at quickly today. The first is community partners, and who are the ideal community partners for you. The second is when we partner with someone, and this was from the teaching yesterday. The second is, once we identify that community partner, who then, or how then do we walk alongside them in tandem to bring them value for their audience, the people that they want to reach. So in turn, that will bring us an audience, but we want to be like, how do we serve them and give them something that is of value? And then the third thing would be then what does it look like? Like, what are the events, or what are the things that we will then do to help that relationship? So let's start with the first one, and I'm going to let you kind of think through some things, and then I have some things written up as well. Who do you believe, and some of it's kind of obvious, would be the ideal partners for your launch of people in the community?
Well, obviously the spiritual side will be churches, children's ministries, vacation Bible schools, things like that. Also, fire departments, the fire community, the men and women who fight the fires or who go around try to educate people. Um, Also, a thing of libraries who have reading for children. You can come in, you can read. Um, Preschools. I already talked to a director of a preschool who wants me to come in once the book is finished. Please come in, read the book to our children. So it can be preschools as well. Yes.
Yeah, and those are great places to really collaborate with and have those as your partners. I also, you said preschools, but I even think elementary schools, like that would be a great place.
Yes.
And I even know, like when I was a school teacher, we had like a month that we would actually, there was a time when we actually talked about fire safety and had fire trucks come out and firemen give their speech. So, partnering there, but also some kind of out of the box places could be like an animal shelter or a rescue organization, because Bessie really is kind of a rescue, right? She was just kind of wandering around, and then your family kind of rescued her, and then she ended up rescuing you. And so that idea. And then community centers, even though you have a very, high spiritual aspect of this story, it still does relate even to the non-believer or the pre-believer, and could be a tool that leads them to the gospel. So even secular organizations that have, the opportunity to reach families and do that. So those are some great partnerships that you could make. Within those partnerships, then we need to kind of take that step and say, okay, what if I reach out to this partner? What is it that I'm going to offer them that brings them and the customers or the audience or the people they serve value as well? And so some of the things that I thought through is some very obvious things that maybe you've already thought about, but having some kind of and I know we've talked about this, like the fire safety checklist, the coloring pages, discussion questions, like a way to put together some kind of curriculum or a lesson plan. So if you did step into a classroom or a Sunday school class and read the book, then they would go into their classrooms and there was still some follow-up activities that the teacher could do, or you could do if you were, like you're given an hour to do a class, and then you could have that for them. But also I was thinking of doing some type of like a devotional for a family based on Psalm 34:7, and having that printable devotional that really speaks to God's protection. And I actually mapped it out for you with some themes and some basic activities that you could use. But it could be a PDF, and that could be a really great tool if you choose to accept it, to have in your book to lead people to you as well afterwards. So even though maybe the overall message that you give parents and children in the place where you present isn't a very, high level gospel theme, that resource could lead their family through, that psalm and be able to, reach them with the gospel. So what are some other things that you're planning to create? Because I know you have some ideas.
Well, as bookstores, of course, and that I'm looking at. Some other things I want to create are like coloring books, and having that theme that I can hand out, like a lead magnet, of course. I'm working with a fellow that's developing a little keychain of Bessie that I can be giving out to the kids while I'm there. I'm working on, like, when I go to fire, when I partner with fire companies and departments, different things I can give out from them as well, to the children. Yeah. One idea came about when we're talking to children, is to have little fire hats that we can give out to the children. And, so while they're reading the story or listening to the story, they're wearing fire hats and different things. Like, so there's a lot of things that we have going on that we can think about. But, what I was going to say, The one thing that you did say though is that I want to, partner with, the fire people, but the real point of the story is salvation. The real point of the story is the gospel being preached. And that devotional, I like that idea, the devotional that the family can sit down and talk about that Psalm 30, 34:7. And that's the main point of, the story, that God gets the glory out of all that we do, and everything we do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And I love children's books because there are so many fun things you can do that are creative and that really do involve kids. And we know that when we can reach a kid, we can reach a parent.
Yes.
If the kids are excited about the storyline or the activities that we have, the parents are very excited because, the two questions when I was doing children's ministry, the two questions they would ask a kid every time you pick them up from Sunday school or children's ministry was, what did you learn? And did you have fun? And
Yep.
so you want those two elements to be part of your events.
Absolutely. Yes.
And there are some other things you could do that could be really fun for classrooms, like creating like a really huge poster of Bessie that you give to the classroom teacher and all the kids get to color on it and create it for their room, or even creating a video of you telling the story and the pictures being shown. And if you do go to a place where it's a larger group of kids and it's hard for them to see the images, to take the images and actually put them on big screen behind you so they can see the pictures and the images and that kind of thing. So those would be really fun ways to interact.
We also talked about Build-A-Bear.
Yeah.
Going and Build-A-Bear and going and putting something together, because we do have illustrations. It's a chapter book, but we do have illustrations in the book. And so, and one of the illustrations is Bessie is dressed up as a fireman or fire person. And so that would be nice to go in and define something that we can, put together and have her and present her as a fire person.
Right. I love that. I love the idea of Build-A-Bear. That's so fun. As you kind of create those things, then it's like, okay, well, then now we take the partnership that we have and the items that we have created to bring them value. And now we have to kind of put together those events. And so my suggestion to you, and this is something we can work on together in BMA, is creating events that when you go to the fire station, or when you go to the preschool classroom or the church or the elementary school or the library, say, here's what I could do. A 45-minute session, I read the story, and then here's the things that we would have. So you could have like a, meet Bessie story time and safety event with firefighters and, partner with their organizations. You could have a God is Our Protector children's night where you'd read the book, have a faith-based object lesson come up with something with Psalm 34:7, and have a follow-up craft where the kids could make like a fire badge or something where they would with Bessie's face on it. You can partner obviously with having a school visit or a virtual reading with or have a reading with school systems like elementary schools, and have a Q&A about the author. Like, how did you write a children's book? Maybe even putting something together where then they go back to the classroom and they think of a story about a cat and they write another cat. Like, because at the end of your book, Bessie, sorry, spoiler alert, Bessie leaves. And so you could say like, well, what's Bessie do next? And then they write the next chapter. And then
yes,
that would be super fun. And then they share it with you and you share that on your website. Maybe have them draw pictures that go with the story that they're going to tell.
Yes.
So lots of different ways you can create the event, but bringing your community value is when you step into their ecosystem and you say, here, I have this book, I'm an author, here's the value that I have, and here's a 45-minute program, or here's an hour-and-a-half program, here's a follow-up curriculum that your teachers could use, and giving them those tools, because then they're going to be like, well, yeah, I really want you to come in and be part of this, because first of all, as a teacher, anyone that would come into my classroom and give me like a 45-minute break where I didn't have to be the one up front, like great. But also giving them the opportunity to really talk about some important subjects within their school.
That is absolutely true. That's epic. And that's what I like. And that's what I like about what you're doing here, this one-on-one. It gives me ideas as an author that I don't, I may not have thought about, and helps us push to get that book out. And I wish other authors had this opportunity, and they should take advantage of it, of what you guys offer. And I really appreciate that. I just want to get that out there,
Yeah, well, thanks, Rob. And, this is what's so fun. So I have this all typed up for you. So I will make sure that you get all the ideas. And I can't wait to continuing to work through this process of your launch and see how God uses you in your community as just like that, no pun intended, that spark that will light a passion and a fire for Jesus in your world. So
absolutely. Because it is important. Because, the Most High gives us ideas, and we have to act upon it. We have to step out on it, and we have to do things to get it together. But what you're saying is motivating me. Okay, I wrote the book. I get the book finished. That's not it. There's more work to be done. Work without, faith without works is dead. Okay, faithfully did the book, did everything. But these are the practical things that we have to do as authors to get our material out there and market ourselves and everything. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And, as you're talking.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I mean,
you finish up.
No, I was going to say, because I just want to say, if you don't mind, that, writing the book is not the end. It's not that you're not finished. That's just, I don't know, that might be first base,
Yeah.
And you still got second, third, and to go all the way home with it, But once we get it, some authors think that's it. I wrote the book and done. I talked to many people who, I wrote a book. That's good. Okay, now what? Okay, But so these are the things that you need to promote your book, to market your book, and other avenues that can be used to get the word out there, because the most important thing is to get the word out there, for us, born again. So I really take, I suggest, and I just hope that I beseech you, therefore, brethren, as Paul said.
I love it.
But to take advantage of what's going on with Redemption Press and everything, because there's a lot more work to do, and that's what I'm realizing.
Yeah. And we're going to have fun doing it. And one of the things that's coming up actually in BMA that we're going to be doing is, because I'm going to be launching a book as well coming up in the next couple months. And so to have us really just partner together on Zoom, and let's all just hop on a call together and brainstorm and actually do some work together, because we know that we get all these ideas, and then Rob, you're going to go and do your thing today, and I'm going to go and do my thing, and then the ideas don't get done because we get other things standing in our way. So really setting aside some really quality time that we have accountability, and we can get these things done. And when we get stuck, somebody's there to ask the question and answer it and that kind of thing. So,
all right.
Well, thank you so much, Rob, for being with us today on our one-on-one at the coaching table. And we look forward to what God's going to do. It's going to be amazing.
It is amazing, because he is an amazing God.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for watching and being with us. And tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time is coaching. So we will see you then. Bye for now.
Love you guys. Bless you.